The King's Avatar, Chapter 1476 Protected Like a King, audio source, WooshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1476, Protected Like a King. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Troubling rain and bullet rain had made it to the edges of the wind zone. The two characters didn't enter it and head directly towards the three players in the middle. Instead, they continued to move forward. The length of distance traveled was according to the research Team Blue Rain had done on this map. If the two players had chosen to directly cut into the wind zone, they would be at a 90-degree angle with the strong winds. Even if they weren't facing against the wind, their movements would still be hindered. By moving a bit more forward, they could position themselves into a better angle and borrow the wind for support. The distance and the angle had been chosen by Blue Rain's players from their understanding of the gale in this wind zone. Troubling rain and bullet rain came in from the left and the right, but they chose different angles of attack and distances. From their choices, it could be determined that the two players were at different distances from the three players inside the wind zone. As a result, they need to attack from different positions. But at this moment, Sumo Chung's dancing rain appeared on this side of the battle. In theory, it didn't matter which player she picked to target, but Sumo Chung went for Huang Shaoshan. With distance between them, launchers would obviously be more comfortable fighting against Blade Masters than Spitfires. The viewers had neglected Sumo Chung's movements because the camera hadn't focused on her much, but what about the players on the field? They could control where they wanted to look. This map didn't have fog either. Had they not noticed Sumo Chung's movements? Of course not. In reality, all of Team Blue Rain had noticed Sumo Chung's movements. But what could they do? Sumo Chung made clear her intentions, but no one on Team Blue Rain could do anything about it. Yu Wenzu and Zhu Jingxi were trying to survive. Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan were responsible for breaking open the situation and could not slow down. What's more, if they went after Sumo Chung, they would have to move in the other direction. How could they have time to do that? Then, there was Lu Hanwen. He was the only one on Blue Rain who held the initiative, but he was the foundation for Blue Rain's comeback. He couldn't abandon his post either. Without any good options, Blue Rain could only watch as Sumo Chung effortlessly carry out her plan. In the end, Sumo Chung had targeted Huang Shaoshan, making him feel even more helpless. The battle taking place in the wind zone had become a 3v3. Through their familiarity with fighting in the wind and support from their healer, Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan felt quite confident in themselves. This was also why they didn't feel too worried about Sumo Chung. Go in. Although Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan were on opposite ends of the wind zone, they had always been in coordination. They didn't enter the wind zone at the same time, but just entering the wind zone wasn't their end goal. Their goal was to coordinate with each other when it came time to attack. One in the front, one in the back. One early, one late. The two characters cut into the wind zone, drawing support from the blowing wind to move faster. Boom boom boom. On Huang Shaoshan's side, artillery fire started being sent his way. So trigger happy. Huang Shaoshan messaged as troubling rain rolled. Boom. The shockwaves from the explosions made him roll 3 times. Under the effects from the wind, he almost couldn't stop. Ha! Sumo Chung responded with a smiley face to troubling rain's rolling. The viewers were dumbfounded. Dancing Rain had predicted Huang Shaoshan's actions. The 3 anti-tank missiles had been fired towards where troubling rain rolled to. She had considered the wind into her calculations too. They could even see the 3 anti-tank missiles curve because of the strong wind. In the end, the missiles had accurately struck troubling rain. Huang Shaoshan felt embarrassed at getting hit by the first attack. It couldn't be said that he had been too careless. He could only blame himself for being too familiar with the map. That roll had been instinctive. Because of the wind, he would naturally roll faster and farther, making it more effective for dodging attacks. But because he made the optimal choice, it had limited the possible mix-ups that could be made. Su Mucheng had guessed it and predicted that Huang Shaoshan would react in this way. The shockwaves sent troubling rain rolling 3 times. Su Mucheng seized the opportunity and had dancing rain move. The viewers saw it clearly. Right now, dancing rain had the tailwind advantage, while troubling rain had the headwind disadvantage. Everyone knew what this meant. Su Mucheng had seized the most favorable position. No matter how familiar Huang Shaoshan was with this map, he would still have a tough time. Su Mucheng was no noob. Just being able to land that attack in these strong winds showed her knowledge of the winds. Sure enough, after Su Mucheng got into position, she immediately had dancing rain attack. With assistance from the wind, her cannon fire was fast and fierce. The place where troubling rain used to be, instantly became scorched earth. Huang Shaoshan had troubling rain keep dodging, which he didn't find too difficult. But after a few steps, he made a realization. Why didn't it feel difficult? Because Su Mucheng was intentionally leaving him openings to go towards. If he took those openings, of course he would find it easy. But if he went along with Su Mucheng's arrangements, troubling rain would be pushed out of the wind zone and his time here would have been wasted. Don't count your chickens before they've hatched. Huang Shaoshan typed as he moved. / Sword light lit up in the wind. Huang Shaoshan had planned on using it to initiate the fight with Fang Rui and Steamed Bun, but it looked like he had no choice but to use it now. The 3 rays of sword light looked like one due to the wind. Su Mucheng chased after Huang Shaoshan, but because of the changes in the wind, trouble and rain's movements were difficult to grasp. Su Mucheng had adapted somewhat to the strong wind, but not to the extent that Huang Shaoshan had. She wasn't able to figure out exactly how the wind affected troubling rain. As a result, her attacks missed. With just a / troubling rain was able to escape from Su Mucheng's firing line. It looked to be a simple maneuver, but it came from hours of practice on this map. Unable to catch him, Su Mucheng wasn't dispirited. She continued to have dancing rain move, maintain her positional advantage over troubling rain. / had to end eventually. The moment the third / came out, dancing rain began attacking again. How annoying. Huang Shaoshan couldn't help but glance at Zheng Xuan's bullet rain. The two need to hurry and convene. Bullet rain's range would allow him to restrict Su Mucheng to a certain extent. Otherwise, if he kept on allowing Su Mucheng to do as she pleased, he would be killed sooner or later, let alone be able to rescue Soul Speaker. Zheng Xuan noticed troubling rain looking towards him. He immediately understood what Huang Shaoshan wanted. That side need help. But he went along his current route. Bullet rain would be downwind from dancing rain. He would be at a disadvantage too. He need to adjust his angle. Bullet rain had reached a position which he could attack, but he had to assist Huang Shaoshan. As a result, he threw a grenade at Boundless Sea and Steamed Bun Invasion, while searching for a better position to fight dancing rain. It's up to you. WuxRWorldAudio.com. Fang Rui suddenly typed into the chat. What now? Everyone was puzzled. Then, they saw Boundless Sea grab Soul Speaker and throw him to the side, getting everyone out of the range of Bullet Rain's grenade. Then, Boundless Sea turned around, assuming that incomparably ugly posture, and start moving in the wind. This bastard. Zheng Xuan saw his actions. Fang Rui was planning on disrupting his plans. Whoever struck first would gain the upper hand. As a result, Zheng Xuan used the wind to his advantage and started firing at Boundless Sea. Qi Guard. Boundless Sea had been attacking Soul Speaker, so he hadn't used any defensive skills. The bullets were all blocked by the Qi Guard. Although the shield was quickly broken, Boundless Sea was able to use this time to move forward quite a bit. Moreover, by crouching low, Fang Rui's Boundless Sea was less affected by the headwind, so he moved faster than he normally did under these circumstances. "Leave this to me. Take care of him, steamed bun," Fang Rui typed in the chat. "Hey, I've been waiting for those words." Steamed bun replied as if they had intentionally been going easy on Soul Speaker. In reality, that wasn't the case. The two hated Soul Speaker's full set of plate armor. If Soul Speaker had been a cleric instead, the two would have had a much easier time. 1v1? Zhu Jingxi's eyes lit up. 1v1, and he was against Steamed Bun, who would sometimes confuse himself. Zhu Jingxi suddenly saw hope of escaping without any help. Opening. Steamed Bun invasion suddenly let out an opening. Zhu Jingxi was overjoyed. Just as Soul Speaker was about to rush out, when he took his first step, he was suddenly met with a heavy blow, stopping him from moving. How? Zhu Jingxi was astonished. No matter how fast Steamed Bun was, he couldn't have attacked from that angle. This is... He looked around and saw Boundless Sea finishing up a move. Chi Blade. It had come from Boundless Sea's Chi Blade. Zhu Jingxi felt gloomy again. Steamed Bun might have his weaknesses, but his teammates knew that, so they would look after Steamed Bun very seriously. As soon as Steamed Bun let out an opening, Fang Rui patched it up. No. Not just Fang Rui. Zhu Jingxi was a healer and had excellent observational skills. He looked around and discovered that it wasn't just Fang Rui's Boundless Sea. Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain and Yi Xiu's Lord Grim were all within range to provide assistance to Steamed Bun. This guy. How lucky. Zhu Jingxi thought to himself. How could he not? A rookie had 3 all-stars protecting him as if he were a king just because he would sometimes go off the rails. Happy was also a team that was good at making up for individual flaws. Zhu Jingxi suddenly felt a sense of déjà vu from Happy. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1477. Unable to break through. Audio source, wuxia-worldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1477. Unable to break through. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. Blue Rain's situation isn't looking good. Li Yibo may not be as observant as Zhu Jingxi, but if he dared to make such a conclusion, he must be quite confident in it. When the situation was ambiguous, Li Yibo would never say anything definitive. Pan Lin didn't follow up on the conversation. Blue Rain's situation isn't looking good? He could somewhat see it, but where should he begin? How Happy was playing chaotically? But when you looked at them now, the team was coordinating with each other beautifully. Happy's characters were scattered throughout the battlefield, yet they were all interlinked, making it seem like they were a whole. As for Blue Rain, Yu Wenzhou was being suppressed by Yi Xiu. Zhu Jingxi was being beaten up by Steamed Bun. Huang Shaoxin was being suppressed by Su Mucheng's cannon fire. And Zheng Zan, Huang Shaoxin and Zhu Jingxi both need his support, but Fang Rui's Boundless Sea was blocking his way. Zheng Zan had no easy way to help either player. The only person on Blue Rain with the initiative was Lu Hanwen. He had constantly been paying attention to the changes in the battlefield. He had thought that Huang Shaoxin and Zheng Zan would quickly turn the tides in their favor, but to his surprise, both of them were stopped. If this continued, even if he killed Little Cold Hands, Yi Xiu would probably have killed off Yu Wenzhou by then, and Steamed Bun Invasion should have no trouble taking down Soul Speaker too. What should I do? Lu Hanwen had kept on reminding himself not to hesitate and to quickly come to a decision, but at this moment, he just didn't know what he should do. If he couldn't even find the right direction, hesitation wasn't something that he would come across. Perhaps believing that my seniors would be able to resolve the problem might be a better choice than making a proactive play. Lu Hanwen suddenly thought to himself. In that case, his best choice of action should be to kill Happy's healer, Little Cold Hands, as fast as possible. With this in mind, Lu Hanwen made his decision and focused on attacking Little Cold Hands. Huang Shaoshan, Zheng Zan. In the end, these two were the only ones who could break open the situation. Shadow Steps. Huang Shaoshan saw an opportunity and used Shadow Steps. He didn't produce a lot of shadows, just 5. However, a smaller number of shadows allowed Huang Shaoshan to control them more precisely. If the enemy couldn't tell which one was real or fake, then the enemy could only gamble on a 20% chance. Artillery fire focused towards one of the 5 troubling rains. For Dancing Rain's attacks to arrive so fast, it could be seen how decisive Sima Cheng was. Was it because she couldn't determine which one was real, so she might as well use that time to make a wild guess? The viewers watching at home held these thoughts. But the live audience? They had Huang Shaoshan's point of view on the big screen, and his point of view would be from the real body. As soon as Shadow Steps came out, everyone wanted to know which one was real, so they all looked at Huang Shaoshan's point of view to determine it. Seeing the artillery fire come, all of Blue Rain's fans let out a gasp of surprise. Whether Sima Cheng had guessed or not, in the end, her attacks were aimed accurately at the real troubling rain. But Huang Shaoshan seemed to have anticipated this would happen. Troubling Rain suddenly switched up the tempo. He responded predictably, which allowed Troubling Rain to escape from Dancing Rain's pursuit. In the public chat, Huang Shaoshan left a smiley face. Shadow Steps was a bait. Seeing Huang Shaoshan's smiley face, Li Yibo realized the problem. Huang Shaoshan wanted Sima Cheng to figure out the real one. By doing so, he knew how Sima Cheng would respond, and he used that knowledge to react in a way that would make it difficult for Sima Cheng to give chase. Pan Lin said. Exactly. Li Yibo nodded his head. As for seizing the right opportunity, for the king of opportunists, this wasn't a problem that need to be worried about. He had grasped it perfectly. While Sima Cheng was unable to do anything, Troubling Rain immediately cut towards Steam Bun Invasion. Suddenly, 6 pillars of light descended from the sky and formed a prison. Troubling Rain was trapped by Hexagram Prison. Everyone was shocked. Blue Rain's fans felt their hearts shatter. Hexagram Prison was a warlock skill. Besides Swaksar, only Lord Grimm could use this skill by attaching it to one of his weapon forms. The myriad manifestations umbrella could transform into a ninjutsu and dual blades, 2 Nightwalker class weapons. As a result, he could add on 2 Nightwalker skills. In the group arena, he had used a thief skill, Shadow Trap. And now, he had used a warlock skill, Hexagram Prison. These 2 Nightwalker skills were put into great effect at extremely crucial moments. The addition of these 2 skills to his kit were worth their weight in gold. Lord Grimm's Hexagram Prison was only level 1, so it would only last 4 seconds. However, in the current tense situation, these 4 seconds seemed to last forever. Dancing Rain's artillery fire swept his way. Huang Shaoshan turned his head resentfully as his view was instantly covered by the light and smoke from the explosions. The audience's line of sight shifted towards Lord Grimm. Hexagram Prison had a cast time. How could he have time to cast the curse while fighting with Yuanzhou? But when they looked, fine. Calling it a fight would be too much of a bias towards Yuanzhou. It wasn't a fight, it was a one-sided humiliation. When they looked over, they saw Swaksar in the air. Lord Grimm was using his umbrella's dual swords. He didn't even look at Swaksar as his 2 arms swung backwards. The dual swords threw a flower in the air, sending Swaksar back up into the air. This was the assassin's knock-up skill, leaping blade, and Yishu even had the time to make it look pretty like a flower. Lord Grimm turned around. His umbrella changed shape again, and the attacks continued. In the group arena, as soon as Yishu was able to get close, Yu Wenzhou was oppressed until his death. And in this team competition, a repeat of the same story was about to happen. He needs to be rescued. Even a noob could see that, and there were no noobs on the field. However, Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Zan couldn't help Lu Hanwen. Although Lu Hanwen was determined to continue attacking Little Cold Hands, he wasn't dead set on it. As he attacked, he pulled his battle towards there. He hoped to keep Little Cold Hands in his grasp, while also finding an opportunity to help his captain. He wasn't dead set on his objective, and Yishu wasn't either. How could Yishu not notice that Lu Hanwen was trying to move over towards him? As a result, he moved Swaksar away as well. There was no change in the situation. Huang Shaoshan was trapped by Hexagram Prison and Suma Cheng's artillery fire. No choice, forcefully break through. Zheng Zan went all out. Bullet Rain rushed at Boundless Sea. He was going to charge through. Dazzling light covered his path. Zheng Zan used attacks to protect himself and accompany him out of this pass. With the wind to his advantage, Zheng Zan's charge carried even more momentum. Bullet Rain was like a fierce warrior as he rushed forward wildly. What can a Chi Master do to stop me? Zheng Zan carefully went over the possibilities in his head. He didn't have a 100% grasp of dealing with them, which why this was a gamble. Zheng Zan had placed his bets, but he soon realized that his opponent wasn't playing the same game as him. It was like they were playing to see who would roll higher. After he threw down one dice, he unexpectedly saw the opponent throw 3 instead. Feng Rui's Chi Master couldn't be thought of as a conventional Chi Master. Zheng Zan obviously knew that. When he made his calculations, he had considered the research they had done on Feng Rui, considering him as a dirty Chi Master. At the same time, he didn't ignore the more common Chi Master methods. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Being able to think up all of these possibilities was due to Team Blue Rain having a Chi Master as well, so the team members were rather familiar with the class. However, the ones who were most familiar with the class were Chi Masters themselves. They thought they had a grasp of Feng Ryu's dirtiness, but when the time came, they realized that it wasn't enough. 1 dice, 2 dice, 3 dice. It was as if Zheng Zan could see his opponent throwing dice after dice. By having 3 dice, he beat out his 1 dice despicably. Bullet Rain fell down to the ground. Another hope was crushed. Blue Rain's fans became even more nervous. A turnaround. Where was the turnaround? Blue Rain's players had done what they could, but Happy had crushed them all. What should I do? Lu Hanwen was unable to keep waiting. Their captain, Swaksar, was already at red health. The thrashing that he was getting was no different than thrashing a healer. In fact, when trying to survive, healers could cast instant heals on themselves occasionally. But warlocks? Grasping ghosts. They could heal themselves a bit by dealing damage with that move, but how could Yishu let him cast a spell with such a long duration? Huang Shaoshan? Zheng Zan? They were too far away. Even if they could break and rescue Shu Jingxi, Soul Speaker might not be able to rush over in time to heal Swaksar. I'm the only one who can save our captain. 3 rays of light flashed as Lu Hanwen's flowing cloud dashed towards Lord Grimm with a triple slash. Yishu didn't seem to want to give up on killing Swaksar. He didn't retreat. He swung his umbrella in an attempt to block the attack. Clang. Great swords were rather heavy. Yishu's Lord Grimm was forced back 2 steps from the blow. His umbrella stabbed towards the side, hooking onto the tumbling Swaksar. Circle swing. Swaksar was thrown towards Flowing Cloud. Flowing Cloud leapt back, his great sword raised behind him ready to attack. behind you when Joe didn't bother controlling his character and typed into chat. Lu Hanwen was startled. There was no time to look. He had flowing cloud dodge. Kai. A white sacred fire erupted. If you and Joe hadn't reminded him, flowing cloud would have certainly been hit by it. Paladins were defenders. And clerics. Clerics played an offensive support role, and Chapter
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1478 Reinforced Iron Bones, audio source WurshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1478, Reinforced Iron Bones. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. With a cleric supporting from the side, practically everyone thought of the same thing: kill. Right now, relying on Little Cold Hand's healing, Yishu was entirely capable of ignoring Flowing Cloud's attacks and focusing on Swaksar. Then what about Lu Hanwen? If he wanted to stop Yishu, he would have to first use some attacks with strong effects. Only then could he interrupt Lord Grimm's offensive. In this high-level match, the current situation was so simple that any ordinary gamer could understand it. Blue Rain's fans were all clenching their fists and cheering on Lu Hanwen as hard as they could. But then Lord Grimm used a skill, instantly turning the hearts of Blue Rain's fans to ash. Reinforced Iron Bones. Within the fighter class, the striker skill Reinforced Iron Bones. A low-level skill, it granted a defense boost that wasn't anything special, but Reinforced Iron Bones had another effect: super armor. At this moment, this became the truly deadly killing move. Super armor didn't help a character's defense at all, but it blocked the effects of almost any attack. At this moment, the only skills that could interrupt Lord Grimm's actions right now were those with grab priority. Blade Master. This class itself didn't have any grab skills, but they would often have one, the low-level Spellblade skill Wave Wheel Slasher. That was to say, if Lu Hanwen wanted to interrupt Lord Grimm's offensive, he could only use this one attack. A ray of white light had already enveloped Swaksar's body. Holy Commandment, a skill that increased the damage that the target took. Using it under circumstances where the target wasn't being attacked from all sides could be considered overkill. And right now, for Blue Rain, this was only pouring oil onto the fire. Swaksar didn't have much health to begin with, and with this 30% increase in damage, how long could he last? Lord Grimm began his offensive. Flowing Cloud began his offensive too. Formless Phantom Blade. At this moment, Lu Hanwen boldly controlled Flowing Cloud to release this powerful attack. Lord Grimm didn't dodge. He faced forward, and continued his attack against Swaksar. Flowing Cloud's formless Phantom Blade landed slash after slash upon his body, sending blood droplets flying everywhere, but he paid it no mind. His health was plummeting, but no amount of damage would cause any kind of hesitation or interruption of his actions. This was the value of super armor. This might not be an equivalent exchange, but Yishu didn't care. Because Lord Grimm would only lose a relatively large amount of health. What Swaksar would lose was his life. There's no way. This was what everyone thought. Even though there was the Wave Wheel Slasher, in such a simple, straightforward, choiceless space, there was no way it would pose any effective threat. Lu Hanwen probably had Flowing Cloud use Formless Phantom Blade because he felt helpless, and decided to use this chance to deal Lord Grimm as much damage as he could. Even the heavy greatsword Flame Shadow was fairly fast with the Formless Phantom Blade. When the opponent didn't defend at all, this Formless Phantom Blade of Lu Hanwen's landed slash after slash, and in the blink of an eye, it had arrived at the final slash. The final slash, the most powerful one of the Formless Phantom Blade. But just as the swordlight of this most powerful slash fled, Yishu suddenly stopped ignoring Lu Hanwen. The swordlight flashed, and Lord Grimm rolled. Dodged. This slash, Lord Grimm had actually chosen to dodge. He didn't mind temporarily stopping his offensive against Swaksar for this. He still wanted to dodge. He was making his killing less efficient. The Blue Rain fans all felt depressed. Yizhu controlling Lord Grim to dodge this most powerful slash made them all hold him in contempt. But then, they watched as this sword light from flowing cloud that had missed its target looked like it was splitting apart the very air. Something that clearly wasn't just the slash of a sword cleaved the air and then vanished. Everyone gasped. This slash wasn't the final slash of Formless Phantom Blade. It was a wave wheel slasher. Lu Hanwen hadn't given up at all. He had hidden the wave wheel slasher within the Formless Phantom Blade, to try and catch his opponent by surprise. But, unfortunately, Yizhu had detected it. Why did he want to dodge this slash? Not because he had wanted to avoid the higher damage of this slash. The reason was simply that this slash truly would have interrupted Lord Grim's offensive. The only effective attack missed. With this, hope was completely extinguished with not an ember remering. But everyone was still wishing for a miracle, wishing for a miraculous turnaround. What if Yizhu made a mistake? He didn't. Not at all. Swaksar fell. And in the last moments before he fell, Yu Wenzu gave his final instruction of this battle: save the healer. Save the healer. Huang Shaoshan and Zheng Xuan had already been rushing to save the healer, and Zhu Dingxi was the one currently being saved. Then naturally, this instruction was meant for Lu Hanwen. Flowing Cloud immediately turned his attack. And Yizhu, to kill Swaksar once and for all, didn't bother to stop him. Yu Wenzu's final message was to subtly make use of a time gap. Before Swaksar fell, Lord Grim couldn't move. But from the distance came cannon fire. Flowing Cloud had shifted targets, and so Dancing Rain shifted targets. And so, Lord Grim shifted targets. Lord Grim's attack stuck to Flowing Cloud, and Swaksar was ultimately killed by Dancing Rain's long-range attack. Yu Wenzu's final instruction, the opening that had been obtained from the time gap, ultimately still fell upon his partner of many years, Huang Shaoshan. And the most outstanding opportunist in the entirety of Glory did not miss this opening, the opening for which his close friend and partner of so many years had traded his life. From the winds, Troubling Rain rushed forward. A twister of swordlight swept toward Steamed Bun Invasion. Save the healer. Lu Hanwen had been given the instruction, but the one who ultimately came to fulfill it was Huang Shaoshan. Troubling Rain, unstoppable. Even if it could be stopped, what could be done? As long as Steamed Bun Invasion's offensive had a single interruption, Zhu Dingxi's Soul Speaker could be saved. Fang Rui dropped Bullet Rain, and Boundless Sea spun and rushed back. He was traveling downwind, but would he arrive in time? It was too late. No matter what, it was too late to block Troubling Rain. But Boundless Sea thrust his palm forward, sending a blast of chi towards Soul Speaker. And Steamed Bun Invasion didn't have any intentions of dealing with Troubling Rain. They were really going for the kill. They would definitely be interrupted, right? Seeing Troubling Rain's sword energy, this momentum, everyone thought this way. But then, they watched as Steamed Bun Invasion, Boundless Sea, the two characters' bodies suddenly shook, as though their very bones had suddenly hardened. Once again, everyone was dumbstruck. Steamed Bun Invasion, Boundless Sea, the two characters had activated the same skill, the same one that Lord Grim had just activated. Reinforced Iron Bones. The fighter classes Reinforced Iron Bones. Steamed Bun Invasion, Brawler. Boundless Sea, Chi Master. Of course they were fighters, of course they could easily learn the low-level striker skill, Reinforced Iron Bones. They wanted not the defense boost but the super armor. Troubling Rain's sword could slice the skies, but so what? All he could use to interrupt the offensive was a wave wheel slasher. Bullet Rain could open fire with all he had, but so what? Those that exploded with knockback would have no effect against super armor. Flash Bullet, Freezing Bullet. The effects of these skills weren't blocked by super armor, but they wouldn't be able to settle the matter. Reinforced Iron Bones. Of Team Happy's characters, 3 of them had reinforced iron bones. Had anyone noticed this point in the beginning? No. Had anyone thought, when the battle reached this instant where everything would be decided, that these 3 low-level skills would explode at once, producing this kind of crude effect? Also no. Soul Speaker fell. He had been suffering attack all this time. If not for his plate armor and tenacious self-recovery, he would have fallen even earlier than Swaxar. Now, Blue Rain had lost 2 characters, one of which was their healer. Victory was already decided. WooshOurWorldAudio.com. Only the most loyal of fans would still cling on to hope of a miracle right now. On the battlefield, Blue Rain's players didn't give up, they were still fighting their hardest. This wasn't simply the victory or loss of a match, this was the victory or loss of an entire season. It wasn't over yet, who could give up? But, when nothing changed in the end, their efforts could only be viewed as a futile struggle. Perhaps in the years to come, their hard work here would be hand-waved as trash time. They'd lost. In their home game, they lost the group arena, they lost the team competition. The points didn't even need to be counted for this game. If not for Happy's fans in the West section, Sichuan Stadium would have been dead silent. They'd lost, just like this. It had ended right before their eyes. But the stadium of Blue Rain fans couldn't believe the reality in front of them. An entire season of effort, just like that, was lost in the first round of the playoffs, in 2 matches. This summer had arrived too early, hadn't it? So early that people weren't used to it. The players from both teams walked out of their competitor booths, and the players who hadn't been playing joined their teammates on stage. Normally, when Wei Chen won at an away game, he loved to applaud and thank the crowd, the majority of which would be fans of the opposing team. Other players that did this might have been genuine in their thanks, but for him, it was a way for him to gloat. But this time, he was quiet as he walked onto the stage with his team. To him, Blue Rain wasn't just any team. Even though he was now standing with Happy, he would never be able to mock them. Winning was enough. On this brutal playoff stage, in front of this team for which he still had many feelings, he restrained himself. Congratulations. Blue Rain's captain Yuan Zhu shook hands with Yi Shu. Thank you. Yi Shu smiled and dipped his head but didn't say more. Huang Shaoshan came up to him next and shook his hand. You'd better win the championships, he said sternly. What did you think I was planning to do? Said Yi Shu, amused. Good. If you'd beaten us and then lost to someone else, I'd never forgive you, said Huang Shaoshan. Congratulate the opponents, thank the audience. Blue Rain may have lost the match, but they didn't lose their demeanor. However, there was a hint of disappointment in everyone's expressions. They would have to taste this bitter fruit for the rest of the summer. But that didn't mean this was the end. There was the new season to come. They would have a new beginning. Day after day, year after year, everyone chased after this goal. There was only one championship. This was cruelty. But there was a championship every year. This was never-ending hope. End chapter.